It was one of those events that many of us still recall as one of the most harrowing in recent history. And HBO's shocking series Chernobyl, created with an awesome attention to historical accuracy and detail, brings it back with frightening clarity. On April 26, 1986, a sudden surge of power during a reactor systems test destroyed Unit 4 of the nuclear power station at Chernobyl, Ukraine, in the former Soviet Union. The accident and the fire that followed released massive amounts of radioactive material into the environment and spurred a crisis for the people of the nearby city of Pripyat and for those living miles and miles away, areas inhabited by millions of residents. The incident accelerated the collapse of the USSR and forever reshaped our collective relationship with the terrifying power of the atom. Created and written by Craig Manson and directed by Johan Renck, his dramatisation is not only about the shortcomings and deficiencies of the Soviet system and the unique set of unsolvable problems that system created. It's an exploration of those responsible for the disaster, the humanity of those who responded, and the people whose lives were so tragically changed by the disaster. And it's above all a look at history through the eyes of human beings. But it's also about the importance of truth in a story that was full of deception and dishonesty. We jump back 2 years and 1 minute after the opening scene. It's just before the explosion that starts the terrible chain of events. An ominous orange glow in the distance signals the reactor core blowing. And it's followed by a shockwave of roaring danger as the men and women in the city of Pripyat brace themselves, the men at the nuclear plant struggling to work out what's happening whilst vomiting blood. Johan Renck directs all 5 episodes and manages to find a fearsome beauty in the horror, poetry in the awesome reality.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is such a stunning series. And I just felt I learnt a lot. I sort of, for the first time in my life, had some inkling about what nuclear fission actually is because it's explained in layman's terms. I mean, I think Jared Harris, Stellan Skarsgård, who plays a minister, Emily Watson as the other nuclear scientist, they're all so fabulous. And Jessie Buckley as the wife of one of the firemen is, personalises the story so beautifully. But you see, it's sort of like what happens when the state comes up against science. And that is what's happening to us now. It is that inability of the state to recognise the science, the truth of the science. So it's sort of enormously relevant. It's truly harrowing, the description of what happens to these people who are affected by the blast it's the most ghastly death. And also the wonderful heroics of those Russian miners who went in and dug underneath, the divers that went in to drain those other 2 tanks of water. I mean, the heroism, the personal sacrifice that people were prepared to make is truly impressive. I mean, I don't know what the Russians think of this, but I think they ought to be...
Well, the Russians are making their own, apparently, to disregard, to help the world disregard the so-called truth of this series. They're making one that blames the CIA, I gather. And there's interesting information coming out of the Ukraine as well. That apparently the streaming service there has finally got a copy of this to show, but there's a lot of dispute about what actually happened, even though this seemingly is based very much on fact and accuracy. A lot of those, the witnesses at the time and those involved at the time are now saying that a lot of it's untrue, which is interesting. Well, fake news.
You see, it's a dramatisation. I don't know about the accuracy. I only know that I think this has been really finely done. I think it explores a lot of issues, and I would give it 5 stars, actually.
I'll give it 5 as well. It is absolutely extraordinary.
What happened on the night of the accident?
Asking the right question will get you the truth. There is no truth.
What happened then? What happened after? All of it. All of it.